everyone. For today's topic, I want to explore the question of whether or not humans are inherently lazy. As you may have noticed in this modern age, it does perhaps seem with a quick glance that people are becoming more lazy because of internet and social media, and basically just the fact that our lives are becoming incredibly easy, and with that people are allowed to fall into luxury and their comfort zones and not really do much, right? Like, people aren't necessarily hard workers nowadays, or at least it seems that that's the case. So with that, a lot of people would probably make the assumption that humans are inherently lazy and we're just seeing this natural behavior play out. But I'm of the mind that that's not quite the case. I truly believe humans aren't exactly lazy by default. And well, a great piece of evidence to back that up, in my opinion, is the fact that in a state of nature, laziness would mean you die, right? Like, you can't exactly survive being lazy, but that is kind of taking into account if a tribe is super small. Once you get a big enough tribe, of course, you can have certain members that don't contribute as much, don't do as much, and they're still able to survive with the help of the others. But even in that situation, that only really happens after a tribe member had contributed a lot when they were younger, and then they get older or they get injured, and now they're unable to contribute as much. But they're still getting taken care of because of their prior contributions, or maybe because of their family members taking care of them. So it's not exactly happening for free per se. Like, they're not going to be helped by strangers in the tribe. I guess there wouldn't exactly be strangers in a tribe, but you get my point here. Like, they would still basically, their laziness isn't exactly by choice in that case, and they're only being rewarded because of very specific circumstances. So my whole point there is, in a natural state, laziness doesn't seem like something that would be a default behavior for us humans. It doesn't really make sense for survival, and when you get down to it, most people in like a, how do I put it, instinctual sense, they're not going to be lazy. So anyway, going past that, because that is a big part of my argument, but the main reason why I believe people are lazy nowadays, or why they, should I say, appear lazy, is because think about the way our societies are set up now. Think about what people have to do on a daily basis to basically survive in the cities we've created. People have to work jobs for 8 hours, sometimes more a day, provided you live in the US. I know other countries, you guys have it a bit better because your governments probably somewhat care about you guys a lot more. I'll never say that any government truly cares about its populace, because that's probably not the case. But hey, some of you have the luxury of having a government that cares a bit more than ours here in the US. Whereas here, it's almost like people are dealing with modern slavery, but they don't call it slavery, so it makes people okay with it, because I mean, you're working 8 hours every freaking day, every single day except for the weekends, and yeah, don't get me started. But basically, when people are forced to do something they don't like, of course they're going to appear lazy because they don't want to do it. Like, somebody has to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, so that's 40 hours total. If they don't like what they're doing, do you really think they're going to do more work than they're getting paid to do? Probably not, right? Because they don't even enjoy doing the work in the first place. And then, because of dealing with all the mental health issues, that doing something you dislike for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, so 40 hours every week, that's going to, of course, impact someone's mental health. It's going to make them lose motivation. It's going to make them not want to do all that much, because once they get home, they're going to want to decompress from work, from spending 8 hours doing something they dislike. And on top of that, many people have commutes. Nobody really likes commuting unless you live somewhere where your commute is super short, or maybe there's not a lot of traffic on the road, which, good for you. Like, that's lucky. I live in Los Angeles. A short commute here is like maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and in that commute, you're going to deal with tons of traffic. Like, there's just too many people living in a small area here. So even with my short commute, my commute's like maybe 20 minutes-ish. There can be so many drivers on the road that it's annoying just being there, because you'll get people cutting you off, you'll get people tailgating, you'll get people just making ridiculous decisions on the road, like they're the only person who exists and everybody else is just forced to deal with their dumb decisions. And yeah, so then that's also a mental health hit, and not to mention a time hit, People want to get home and do whatever they want to do to finally have that freedom. But if their commute is really long, they're losing more hours of their day just driving to and from work. So basically, those things combined, a person gets home, they're going to still appear lazy because now that they're home, they're not going to want to do chores and whatnot because they're spent. Their mental energy is all gone. They just want to relax and do nothing and decompress from working that 8-hour day and then however long their commute is on top of it. Basically, they just need to recharge their mental energy. So, of course, people are going to appear lazy nowadays. They're spending all this time doing things they don't want to do. Nobody would work 8 hours a day if they didn't have to. Nobody would. Like, come on, you can't tell me that's the ideal lifestyle for anyone. And by the way, gonna throw in here really quickly. This isn't an argument against capitalism because, my God, it's like if I don't mention every little thing nowadays, people will make their assumptions about what I'm saying. No, I'm not against capitalism. I actually realize it's truly the best form out of all these systems. Like, I understand the alternative, no good. A lot of people die with the alternative. No, so I'm not like anti-capitalist here. I'm just saying, even with the way we've set up our societies in these ways that still provide a lot of freedom and beneficial qualities for people living in those societies, there's still just this unfortunate aspect of we work too much. We really do. It's not cool, and that creates laziness in people, if you ask me, because if people were doing something they truly enjoyed, something that gave them meaning and purpose. I had one commenter mention how this is like if they had a why, going back to Simon Sinek's whole book and philosophy. If people have that higher meaning behind the work they're doing, I'm of the strong belief that people will no longer be lazy. So I think laziness is usually a motivation issue. Because like I mentioned, most people are working jobs they do not like. They wouldn't be doing that if they didn't have to. So of course, yeah, they're going to have no motivation to work in that realm. And then like I said, as they get home, they'll have no motivation to do their chores and that sort of thing. But if someone is truly doing meaningful work, I believe most people will rise to the occasion and start putting in a lot of hours and energy because it will have a purpose to them. The problem is most people are not working jobs like that. They're working jobs just to make money, to make ends meet, to survive, to provide for themselves. Most people are not working meaningful and fulfilling jobs that give them purpose. But I truly believe if, let's say, we lived in a perfect world where that was the case, where everybody was working jobs that actually provided meaning and purpose for them, I don't think laziness would be a word in our vocabulary then, because people aren't lazy when they have that motivation, that why to work with, that thing that gives them fuel and sparks them and gives them inspiration to keep going. So that's basically my whole argument. I think laziness is a motivation issue. So I do not believe humans are inherently lazy. I believe we just have set up societies that kill people's motivation, because why should anyone be motivated to do something they don't care about? Like, take me, for example. I'm really ambitious. I have been that way my whole life. When I was younger, I wanted to be like a CEO of a company, and I probably, definitely could have done it if I had actually kept that as a goal. But later on, I decided not to do that. I decided I preferred the route of starting my own business and gaining my freedom that way, because I realized at some point, being a CEO of a company, sure, it'd be cool to be able to steer the direction of a company and make sure the employees are taken care of, make sure the customers are treated well, basically make sure it's a good company. But the more I thought about that, I was thinking, why would I want to do that if it means I'll have no freedom? Because I learned quite a thing or two about the daily life of CEOs, and I was just like, you're making all this money, but you have no free time to live your life. Like, what is the point in that? Screw that. Not to mention divorce rates for CEOs are really high. Like, a lot of them don't have a good family life because they're working too much. So it just didn't seem worth it to me. But I've always been ambitious. And now I'm at a point where every job I work from here on out is basically just a means to an end for me because my goal is all about starting my own business. So to an outside eye, I probably look lazy now at work because I want to do the bare minimum because I don't care about it anymore. And I get that. That's a motivation issue on my end. I'm not a lazy person, but I simply have no desire to go all out for a company that I'm just not invested in. I don't really care about long term. Sure, my coworkers are awesome. I usually really love the teams that I work with, but I don't care about the work we do. I just don't, because to me it's not meaningful. But when I'm eventually am able to run my own businesses, then of course I'll be super motivated. I'll be finally doing what I want to do. I'll basically be living in line with my why. So there you go. This is just what I wanted to share my thoughts on, because I just don't believe people are lazy by default. I really don't. It's just our world is set up in such a way that people aren't motivated to work all the time. They're just not. Like, if anything, it goes to show that's something that's very much against human nature. In a state of nature, we would be living in nature, providing for ourselves in that way. We wouldn't be living in cities and whatnot. And I do get our lives are very nice nowadays. Like, don't get me wrong. It's great we've got all these luxuries, but we're still not living the way that we were basically meant to. So, of course, there'll be consequences for that. But anyway, that's pretty much all I want to talk about. I don't want this video to get too long, and it's already over 10 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed my logic here. Remember, this is pretty much all my opinions for the most part, but hopefully it made sense to you. Let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know what you think about this subject. And yeah, that's all I have for you. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci.